know what the IMF
International
did?
Monetary Fund.
The issue about whatever
the gay bill,
the gay bill and everything.
LGBTQ bill, basically. Yeah.
And the IMF told them that they are not going to fund them until they remove this bill.
Yeah.
These global bodies are just sisters and brothers.
Yeah.
So if one is supporting this summit, then it goes to say that IMF is close to this. It's the West. Second, about ECOP.
Yeah.
And this is a climate summit. We are supposed to discuss about how we're going to end the consumption of oil and pollution. Now you are about to find oil in your country to start produce oil, no? So it is a contradiction.
It's a contradictory sort of thing.
And that also goes for Nigeria and for South Africa. Yeah, they didn't show up because these countries, they are producers. Nigeria is a producer of oil, and South Africa is a producer of uranium.
Yeah.
So
but also Kenya and Turkana, it's only that we are not aware of what is happening in Turkana, but also we are oil producers. It's only that ni chini ya maji.
Chini ya maji. Inapitishwa na hatujui. So it was a great summit. I was happy because it's not easy to host these summits, and it just turns out without any chaos and everything. You can imagine the security apparatus at that time, very busy containing everything, and at the same time making Nairobi work, making Nairobi to continue.
I tried to Sakajanize us here.
Making the lives and livelihoods of Nairobi to continue as though nothing is happening. So it was a very good show of might that Kenya had. At the same time, we also saw different statements. People have different opinions of the outcome of this ACS. When the president suggested that there will be he suggested about a carbon tax for these big multilateral organizations and
companies.
It is quite debatable, but I think generally Kenya won, the President Ruto won, I think Nairobi won at the end of the day. And
given the slogan of the show, agree to disagree, I will agree with you that the president, indeed, this was a phenomenal performance. And indeed, I think if anybody doubted that President William Ruto is the darling of the West, this is supposed to exonerate him and just make him the icing on the cake. And I think the Daily Nation also, on Sunday or Saturday, they even put there is a famous dressing in America where you put on a hat.
The hat.
That has a United States flag, and you have this quote. I think that the cartoonist who drew that was very on point. But not that being the point, I think the president did some really phenomenal work. And I was talking to, I think, some workmates where I work, and was telling them, hey, I love the man, hate the man. The amount of revenue that flew into the country for only those 3 days, that was magnanimous.
It was
and when you talk about changing economies and overturning economies, those outside capital coming into your country and being injected into the economy directly, that is absolutely phenomenal. And either way, the dollar is at 150 right now. That is a conversation for probably later. I see I stunted you there for a minute. The only thing that I would disagree with the climate summit, and I speak as a person who works around climate change in my other endeavors, I believe, and I would like to vehemently go against the branding of climate change as the origin of all the problems that we have on the African continent. Because per me, as Alan Hubbard, what I read from the summit, everything that was sort of being turned against climate change. And there is an analogy that the president used that because now climate change is happening, kids are not able to eat enough food in their homes, we need to sort of spare more money and take to the schools and everything. As much as that might be the case, but we have had a problem of not being able to have school feeding systems or programs in proper place. And if an economy is ailing and I'm not able to feed my kids at home, guess what? They will have to eat at school. And also when you look at, we cannot say that poor governance the lack of availability of proper education, the rampant corruption that we still face in our country, that all these are going to be aligned to climate change. I think that is a conversation that we need to go away from. And also this aspect of feeling like Africa cannot come up with its... Yes, Africa has the capability of turning the tide of climate change for the entire globe. But can we stop branding Africa as if it is this vulnerable place that it cannot come up with its own solutions to solve these problems?
Absolutely.
Yeah? I think those are the two things that I would sort of deviate from the whole conversation of what happened at the Africa Climate Summit. And of course, what I'm very passionate about, disability. I think persons with disabilities are this group that are utterly affected by climate change, and a conversation, no country was having a conversation about these indigenous groups and persons with disabilities. So I feel those are some of the places that government failed, and it was more of a nation's thing. Civilians were not really involved directly within the summit. Those are my take.
I think I can add to that and say what I was happy about this climate summit is that we tried as much as possible to go away from the needy kind of Africa that you usually portray to the world, and we say that we can do this as a country. We can come up with these, I know this is debatable, we can come up with this tax and tax these corporates that are doing this as a solution that is African towards sorting this issue of climate change.
Now, President, everything he thinks about is tax.
You gave him a name.
Zakayo.
So I think, but what we discussed about the other time here about SCS and what we said we need also to hear was that climate change is being understood by people at the grassroots level. I think that also was not addressed of how people, how awareness can be done properly to the ground level. So there were gives and takes. Generally, for me, it was a good show.
Absolutely. That I totally agree with you. It was a good show. And talking about good shows, after the Africa Climate Summit, the president headed to Tanzania for the food summit. And not important conversations were had, but not so much to report, because to me it seemed like a replication of what happened in Nairobi, not unless you disagree.
Well, what really came out from that, I just had the joke that the banter between
the two presidents and Larry Madowo.
It was not really covered well as this one was covered. So
no, Kenyans were big on media, my brother. Kenyans were big on media.
I noticed.
We had bloggers. Everybody was on ground. Everybody was strategically placed.
But the discussion was good because food security is really a problem in Africa. And I believe it is a conversation that Kenya also needs to be at the forefront of, because we have a very, very huge population that is not sustainable in terms of food. So it was good for Tanzania to host it, but I know Tanzania is better off in terms of food security than us. But I think we can get more from that, and maybe consecutive years.
Get to learn. All right, and the president then flew back to the country. I don't think he got to attend the G20 summit, but he came back into the country, and he went back to his political activities of preparing for the 2027 election, if you would say, to some extent. And over the weekend, he was in Meru. And why particularly Meru, we cannot tell, but the Meru county government is finding itself at a crossroads. You know, the honorable governor, Hawira Mwangaza, there naming her husband after naming a road after her husband, and what wanasema mapenzi haiko. But we're not here to talk about love. We're here to talk about politics. But that gesture alone sort of did not rub some people in writing.
Perhaps we can allude it to the constitution and how the deputy governors are supposed to work. I think I saw someone tweeting someplace that the easiest job in this country is to be a deputy governor. The governor will want to do everything. So it is a matter of stipulating clearly what are the roles of the deputy governor. And this goes also to what we saw in the presidency and the deputy president, where for some time we didn't know what the role of the deputy president was. And we saw now the fighting that was between the president and the deputy president, that they didn't, one didn't know he was tangering, the other one is busy doing work. So I think that is what is going on. But at the same time, we also have to understand that these people sometimes are brought together because of winning.
Political convenience.
So they don't have that synergy to work together. So between all these circumstances, you find that they lack that unity to work together and deliver for the Monanchi.
But I think then if all of you belong to a political outfit, I think it is the political outfits that sort of get to fail those particular outfits, because a political party is also supposed to sort of put its house in order. And also, to get to correct myself, the war in Kiambu is not between the governor and the deputy governor, rather the governor and the senator. That's what is happening in Kiambu County. But I think governor, deputy governor is a sort of a sibling rivalry. You're looking at somebody doing something and you're like, I could have done better. And this was the case in Siaya County, where the deputy governor felt, no, Mr. Orengo, what you're doing, I think I can do better. And hizi vitu naniekelea hapana.
I will ask, what do you think should be the role of the deputy governor?
I think then there should be a linkage. We should not have a deputy governor, because that's a waste of time.
It is.
That's a waste of time, and that's a waste of Kenyan resources. The deputy governor position should be clearly done away with.
You will have a prime something.
No, not even a prime anything. Let us create a linkage between, because the senators are the senators are the ones who are responsible to impeach governors.
Yes.
Then let's create a linkage between what the governor is doing links into what the senator is doing, because the senator creates the legislation for the counties.
I usually have a problem with that.
Yes.
Our constitution, the way we were saying that we should have a dialogue, start to have discussions about our constitution. When MCAs impeach a governor, I think that should be final.
Absolutely.
We should not take them again to a senator from Nandi who decide whether a governor from Kiambu should stay or not. It doesn't.
A senator in Nandi knows nothing about Kiambu.
So this system is flawed, because we need to start from Senate. The discussions start from Senate, then give the MCAs. But in that case, MCAs should be independent, should decide what is best for the.
But I think even as that stands, even as I agree with that point of view, I think the creators of the constitution saw, okay, if the Senate is going to create laws that cut across the country and legislate on issues that cut across the country, then I can as well decide for you what ideal governor you should be able to have in your county. I think that would have been their thinking. But then it makes entirely a lot of sense if we have over 30 members of county assembly who represent all the different wards in my county, and they decide, no, this governor is not serving us right. They do not need to go back to the Senate and say, okay, now these are our decisions, then you get
the system is flawed.
But I think there should be a synonymous way, or a synchronicity way of how the governor works with the senator, because if the senator is going to create the legislation for a county, then they should be able to work hand in hand so that they are able to sort of deliver on their mandate. And I would also get to think that let the senator be the representative of the entire county at the government side or at the legislative side, because the governors are devolved already. They are devolved already. So let the senator represent them at the national level. I think that would be a proper argument.
I think to settle all that, we need just to say, let Senate be upper house.
Taking us back to last week.
Yes, and let the National Assembly be the lower house. Then we settle this score because it's a confusion.
Yeah, absolutely, confusion. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you might look at a county. I think for this I might agree with you. If the Senate is going to be at the upper house, you'd find that if I am the senator of Kiambu, then I have 3-4 constituencies in that locality or in that county. Then definitely there is no way that a member of parliament will be above me.
Doesn't make sense.
It does not make sense. So if the Senate then is the upper house and then Parliament is the lower house, I think then that definitely
it works.
Don't you think would have created senators who have a lot of power then?
Members of National Assembly will never accept that. I don't know what's their problem.
Because I think when you look at how revenue is allocated, yes, senators have a revenue that is allocated to them, but then it's not abound as what you would see that the counties, the constituencies are given. There is the CDF and all of that. Yeah. Then if Senate is going to become an upper house, then it will eventually advocate or what is it called, lobby for more funding to go to the upper house as compared to the amount of funding that goes to the lower house.
So it narrows down to allocation.
Yes, it will narrow down to allocation, and I think that is the fear that members of parliament have.
Yeah, but I agree for all this to work, and to work as it is intended to work. Let the Senate be up the upper house, let the National Assembly be the lower house. Perhaps that is a discussion that we need to have as a nation to move forward.
And if you are a deputy governor and you're watching us right now, we do not have anything against your job. We are only concerned of how...
you're increasing unemployment.
We are advocating for unemployment. You come, we'll invite you to our show, and you will definitely. But when you look at if your responsibilities are not clearly stipulated, then there is a lot of time you have that you're spending on doing other things and brokering deals within idle mind.
Yeah.
Let's now go back to the clip of the president while he was.
Kenya hii wenye kushughulika na kwa sababu Kenya hii ni jukumu letu na ni wajibu wetu, na tutatumia mali yetu na tutatumia nguvu yetu kujenga Kenya. Hatuwezi kukubali ile pesa wananchi wametoa kama ushuru yao ati itumiwe ama iibiwe ama itapeliwe ama kupitia kwa ufisadi ichukuliwe na mtu yeyote. Ndio nimeambia wakora wote na matapeli na wezi pamoja na wafisadi wote, mambo yao ni matatu. Either wahame Kenya.
Do you think that the president has already coined himself a term for the 2027 election campaign?
Oh, he has. We are on. We are very much on. I think he has a slogan to go forward. I think that he's taking that slogan to
a whole new level.
Yeah, and to ward off people who are involved in corruption. That is his corruption slogan. So perhaps we're going to see more of it being used in the future.
Yeah.
We don't know how he's going to maybe change it and to fit his future campaign, but we know that the campaign is already on. We are seeing people on tops of vehicles. People are busy, so yeah.
Interesting. And when you look at what he is vehemently speaking about, and I wanted to ask you this last week when we are here, and the reforms that are happening from in the sugar belt of the country, and not to directly give away where you're initially from, but what is your analysis of the sugar crisis from the sugar belt and the policies and what the president is trying to do? Will it be able to solve the wars that are bedeviling the sugar belt of the country?
Well, the sugar belt has had a lot of problems from the past.
Yeah.
We've seen different governments trying to intervene and trying to resurrect, I can say, these sugar factories in Western Kenya and Nyanza, but it has all been futile.
Yeah.
I don't think a government can really not be able just to uplift these sugar factories. There's something that goes behind the curtains that maybe we were not knowing, and that majorly is corruption. There was money being siphoned, and I saw politicians in Western the other day, they were saying, there is a problem here, and to sort this problem, remove these people, I don't want to mention these politicians, but I saw them, and they were saying that this person is blocking everything that is supposed to happen. So I think the measure that the president is taking is a very good, is a new measure. We can say it's a good measure because it's different. Perhaps we're going to see something new from it, but it is a very good initiative if he does that. If he will be successful to do that, he will have a lot of votes from that side. So let's wait and see, perhaps.
And starting to cast new nets of unmassing different voting blocks. And talking about voting blocks, let's hear what the Deputy President had to say. And also what the Deputy President is saying is leading us, because when you see the thumbnail that we're having, there is sort of a picture that is pitting the Deputy President against the President. We're going to be telling you exactly why, but let's hear what the Deputy President had to say about Mambo ya Ngome, and see if indeed the President is not trying to look for different alternatives, just in case things ziumane in 2027.
Maendeleo itapatikana kama viongozi wanapigana, na kuna development mtapata.
The Deputy President going to talk about a lot of things, but I want us to focus on these two things. Ngome ya President ni bonde la Ofa na Central Kenya. When we look at, okay, we must be honest. I don't know if you would agree with this one, but we have to agree to disagree. There is a lot of jitter that is happening in Central Kenya. Many people, when you hear what is happening on the ground, many people say that the president has not been able to deliver on the promises that he had initially for the Central Kenya region. And these are some of similar things that are reverberating when, even as the country, because I see today a conversation of sort of a scorecard for the Kenya Kwanza government whole year has already started happening. So these expectations that Central Kenya had, they have not been met to some extent. And I think going back to what your friend said, that if indeed the reforms happen in Mumia Sugar and the Sugar Belt entirely, then the president would have won himself another block to vote for him. What do you read in between all of these conversations? And I would like to think that the deputy president indirectly is sort of reminding the president, remember, remember,
we are your people.
Your people, because there is even a part that he says, walimpigia kura mia kwa mia.
Mia kwa mia.
Yeah.
Equally, politics is tricky, and the only voting block that the president is guaranteed is his voting block in the Rift Valley.
Yeah. That is not going anywhere.
That is not going anywhere. Whoever stands, that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Defending a vote is the trickiest part and the hardest part that you're going to do in politics. It is something to oppose. It's very easy, by the way, to oppose, but it is very, very hard to defend your title, whatever championship that you're running again, or you're running for.
Yeah.
So I think the president knows, and it is likely that he's not going to get the much or the many votes that he got from Central Province, or they said the former Central Province.
Yeah.
And he needs some other blocks to add up to the votes that he will have. Of course, this is subject to whoever he will be running against. The Western Bloc is perhaps what he has been eyeing for from the past elections, and even the coming elections, because he has these two leaders from Western. He has Mudavadi, he has Wetangula.
And Wetangula is quite a deliverer.
Yes, Wetangula is a hardworking person.
You're like, what do you expect?
So I think he's looking at a situation whereby he's going to get a majority of votes. I know the president is going to choose Rigathi. That is my own view. I think he's going to go with Rigathi again
in 2027.
In 2027. It's very hard to change, and if you change, you're creating an enemy that you don't really need. So he's going to choose Rigathi again, but the voting bloc,
Yeah.
the central voting bloc,
Is going to shift.
is going to shift
Yeah.
to some extent if the president, the former president, still will be in his current outfit politically. You know, at that time, people will need to see something new.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and the votes that he's going to lose from Central Province perhaps are going to be added with the votes from
that
Western
he might be
and
able
Nyanza.
to garner from Western Nyanza.
Yeah.
Quite interesting there, and it's quite an interesting point of view. But when you look at, because I sort of, if there is anything that this government has managed to do, or let me not say the government, but Kenya Kwanza has managed to do, and this the president has managed to do from day one when quote unquote they started kutanga-tanga and all of that, the president or the party leader of Kenya Kwanza is very good at sort of patching up cracks in his house.
Yeah.
Because on the underbelly, I think things are falling apart for Kenya Kwanza. But whoever is leading this whole political outfit is sort of keeping the whole thing together. Because when you look at the utterances, when they were in Meru, the president said, "I am all for the office of the opposition leader." And the deputy president also at the same stage says, by the way, this issue of reviewing political justice and election justice and everything, it does not really matter to me as the deputy president. And this divergence, where do you think this divergence of thought? Okay, we agree to disagree, but these guys are in the same government. Why are they so differing onto what don't we know that these two already know?
Perhaps the deputy president is reading a different script from what the president is doing.
Yeah.
And you know, when these talks started, I think we've been discussing here subsequent weeks that there was some notion being thrown out, you know, from the Central Province, from the Mount Kenya region, that, you know, we don't need these talks.
Yeah.
These talks are not beneficial
They
to
are
us.
waste of our time.
Waste of our time.
Yeah.
But, you know, if anything, if there's any agreement that is going to be made with the opposition, of course, the people who are going to lose first are people
from the mountain.
From the mountain, because they hold the second stake of the government. And of course, you know, if someone comes, he cannot come in front of the president. He'll come just behind the president.
Absolutely.
As we saw. So once bitten, twice shy. He saw what happened in the previous regime, and now he's just trying to remind the president that, you know, this happened. Don't let it happen to us. We were with you, we voted for you. Let us run this course just in a perfect manner, the way we anticipated. I think that is the call that he's trying to make.
But even as that is the case, I think it would be, and still I look at the president still going by his terms credit. He's sort of putting his credits aside and saying that, yes, if I need to play these cards later on in time, they will be right. Because he will say, I said kutakuwa na opposition office, nilitengeneza opposition office, ndio hiyo iko tayari. So whoever loses the election, there won't be a problem for him then because definitely the president is going, it's too early to call it, but definitely the president. So far, it's early to call it, but there is a higher possibility that the president might be re-elected later on in 2027. But I think things are going to start falling apart. Even as I totally want the government to work and deliver its promises onto the people, which when we look at the scorecard, it does not really read well. But also, truth be told, they have been able to pull off some really nice initiatives. Though some of them are roadside declarations, there are some things that they have been able to do properly. What do you think of the relationship of the deputy president and the president currently? And if you might be an insider, you can drop something in our comment box and you can stop all this speculation. But I think one thing that I will not agree with is having a president that is already in campaign mode. I think that sort of derails the agenda and sort of takes off his attention on matters of development and what really needs to be done for the country, even as he has already announced political party elections. And it's only 1 year into government and you're already thinking of re-strategizing, yeah?
I will go back to what you said before, that he is a man that really tries to seal off any cracks
Any loopholes, yes.
that will start emerging way before. We've seen these. It was very fascinating to see that when he was campaigning, people were not leaving the camp.
Yeah.
You know, while others were leaving from the other side, people were not leaving his camp. It was surprising. I don't know what he's using.
And there were, I think.
Yes.
I think if somebody knows your price, there is nothing that you can do to that person.
Yes, exactly.
And I think also, okay, this is a gimmick that probably the president does not use, but if I know a thing or two about you, there is nowhere you're going. There is nowhere you're going. If I know a thing or two about you, nah, forget about it.
So I think that is the strategy that the president is trying to use.
Yeah.
He's trying maybe to announce these elections this early. He's trying to see who are the weak people.
Weak links, yeah.
To remove them mapema, so that you can have only strong people. And I remember during the UDA campaigns and the elections, they held these primaries.
Yeah.
And the best thing about the party is that they let people decide whoever they want to have.
But I think at that point he had nothing to do because he really needed to garner up that popularity.
Yes, and
he could not have done what our brothers from Azimio could.
Yes, he needed only strong people. Even if you are his friend, but you are not strong, he did not take that person or maybe appoint that person to that position. So I think that is what he's trying to do.
Government positions.
Yeah.
He knew we will take this and you will be you will be awarded in another way.
Of course.
Yeah. And as we elevate this conversation
to balance, because I learned this back in campus during campaigns, that you really have to, when your opponent leaves this class, you need to go to that class. Because it's going to sway your votes away, and you don't need his voice to remain there. So you have
reverberate, and people starting to have different concepts about.
You need to mix them. And
you're sharing a model that every county and every constituency is supposed to be receiving for that particular constituency or for that particular county to be able to deliver on the mandate that they have for their people. So I believe. It is a political gimmick, but it is not a democratic gimmick, and I think that is what the former Prime Minister is alluding to. Give them the money, let them do what they have to do, and if by any chance, because, by the way, I think if the government is able to facilitate all these counties that they did in personal pockets, and then that definitely becomes a challenge, and that is a way that you could come and sweep in and then take over instead of you sort of that democracy is.
The former Kakamega governor,
Wycliffe
Oparanya. The party needs influence. So what the party is trying to do is to retain these people, give them positions so that they can be more vocal about their stand, about the party and everything. I don't know what you make of it.
I think it is, these people were cheering for the same. So that means that is also your governor to give him you get people.
Shows the significance of Kisii as a block for Raila Odinga. Because, as I said here before, they voted in a almost 50-50 manner, one for Kenya Kwanza, the other one for Azimio. So it was really necessary for him to have that position so that he can retain at least that block for the opposition.
But also, when I look at that, I think if we are okay, before we talk about succession, okay, we can hint about succession kidogo. I think also Raila Odinga, former Prime Minister, is sort of preparing himself for exiting the stage. I think if you start, because Simba Arati has been in Odium for the longest time, and if I think the days, I don't know if later on, as we know politics, people change, but he has exonerated himself, showing that he's not going anywhere. He is an ODM member, and he will probably not in 2027, but in the near future.
Yes,
Do you read the same thing?
I read the same thing. It is. We've been analyzing the successor for Raila Odinga for a while now. I don't know. Perhaps maybe he's coming. I've seen some people throwing out names in social media.
Which names have you been saying?
I've seen Babu Owino.
Yeah.
I've seen Opiyo Wandayi.
Opiyo Wandayi.
I've seen
his debating skills. Not really.
Mbadi.
Mbadi, not really.
So I think there'll be a lot of factors to consider when you're looking at a successor for Raila Odinga, because the shoes that you're going to fit in are really big. Because you have to be, first of all, you have to be a Democrat. You have to be charismatic, very influential. You know, you are not just influential in your own tribe. Absolutely. You're influential across the country. You know, you're known across the continent. Yeah. So it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a very, very challenging task to find a suitable successor. And you can find a successor in ODM. Yeah. But what about Azimio? Yeah. What about this other party? Will they back you? You know, will you have the entire support of the tribe? Or no? Our politics is tribal. We don't have to hide it.
But I think then Azimio should not be really a problem, because I totally believe that 2027 that bus is going to break. We are going to come up with a different bus that we're going to do. We are going to be able to come up with. If it does not break, I don't pray for it to break, because I do not feel that we are going in the right direction. If after every other 5 years we have to come up with these new alliances because of political convenience, I don't think so. But when I look at there is the way when you spoke about Wandayi, Opiyo Wandayi, I think when the man talks, and I do not have anything against him, but when the man talks, he hardly moves the crowd. Exactly. Yeah. When you look at John Mbadi, he is so into himself. I don't think he will be able, and he has not really stood on a stage and he has moved a crowd. Yeah, I think these are people who found themselves in the right place at the right time.
And they shine in parliament.
Yeah, and they're shining in parliament. But when I look at somebody at Simba Arati, and you look at the work and the influence that he had in Nairobi when he was MP, and actually Simba Arati might have it, because he moved from Nairobi and went and campaigned in Kisii and still won. Not a senator, not a deputy governor, but a governor position.
Simba ni Simba.
Yeah, Simba ni Simba. That communicates something. And when I look at Babu Owino, probably still young, but he would have the skills what you would look at, probably not to quote unquote the enigma, Raila Odinga's threshold, but Babu Owino would have it when you look at the influence that he had in school politics, because when you look at all these people, some of them came straight from university politics, and they went into national politics. When you look at the oratory skills that he has, charisma definitely on top. So I think these are probable names that will be able to take up the ODM political party to the next level.
I've never thought about Simba Arati, but now it makes sense. Yeah. It really does make sense. I think he's a person who can really command respect among his peers and also gain votes from
kuna kiongozi ambaye hana gome yake ya kisiasa, na gome ya kisiasa ya rais wetu ni hapa Mlima Kenya na bonde la Ufa.
Lakini wakileta nyokonyoko simuko tayari.
Kwa mkutano nikiondoka nikapata mtu anaitwa Moses Kuria amenipigia simu. Nikipigia yeye ananiambia vice chair. Nashindwa, Moses ni ule ulevi. Nimeambia wakora wote na matapeli na wezi pamoja na wafisadi wote, mambo yao ni matatu: either wahame Kenya, waende jela, ama wasafiri waende mbinguni.
Hakuna kiongozi ambaye hana gome yake ya kisiasa, na gome ya kisiasa ya rais wetu ni hapa Mlima Kenya na bonde la Ufa.
Lakini wakileta nyokonyoko simuko tayari.
Kwa mkutano nikiondoka nikapata mtu anaitwa Moses Kuria amenipigia simu. Nikipigia yeye ananiambia vice chair. Nashindwa, Moses ni ule ulevi. Nimeambia wakora wote na matapeli na wezi pamoja na wafisadi wote, mambo yao ni matatu: either wahame Kenya, waende jela, ama wasafiri waende mbinguni.
Hakuna kiongozi ambaye hana gome yake ya kisiasa, na gome ya kisiasa ya rais wetu ni hapa Mlima Kenya na bonde la Ufa.
Lakini wakileta nyokonyoko, simuko tayari.
Kwa mkutano nikiondoka, nikapata mtu anaitwa Moses Kuria amenipigia simu. Nikipigia yeye ananiambia vice chair. Nashindwa, Moses ni ule ulevi.
Nimeambia wakora wote na matapeli na wezi pamoja na wafisadi wote, mambo yao ni matatu: either wahame Kenya, waende jela, ama wasafiri waende mbinguni.
Hakuna kiongozi ambaye hana gome yake ya kisiasa, na gome ya kisiasa ya rais wetu ni hapa Mlima Kenya na bonde la Ufa.
Lakini wakileta nyokonyoko, simuko tayari.
Kwa mkutano nikiondoka.
Away from that abrupt break, you were saying something about Simba Arati before that abrupt break.
Yeah, Simba Arati, I think he's a very good candidate. I was not seeing him in that light.
Yeah.
And he's a person, I was saying, he's a person who can command respect among his peers, and also a person who can garner votes and influence people to follow him and his ideas. So I think that is a very good match to try and fill the shoes that Raila Odinga. Of course, it's going to be a long time before he matches up, but he's someone who can try.
There is a place to start at.
Yeah.
If it is not about the political acumen, I could choose and let nobody from Wiper skin me alive, but I could choose Simba Arati any day, as apart from Kalonzo. Kalonzo is to me comes off as you know, these perfect diplomats. Yeah, we do not want to soil our name. Yeah, Kalonzo is not the kind who would be a political leader and say we are going to demonstrate. Yeah, he wouldn't be. Kalonzo is a white curtain.
He's a gentleman.
Yeah, he's a okay. You put it properly. He's a gentleman. Yeah,
yeah.
He's one who believes in gentleman agreements, and I think that's why also Raila Odinga, in his own wisdom or the wisdom of the Azimio la Umoja, he was like, "You're the right man to lead the bipartisan discussions because." He thrives in that. But if you want if things get murky, he's not your guy. If you want somebody who is going to compete with the government, you need somebody who is willing to go to not unscrupulous ways, but who is willing to go all the way to make sure that they will deliver for the opposition.
That's true, because we have to understand or look at the population that you are having of the voters. We are a very young country, a country of very young people. We like people who want to see more. You can say that. They move crowds and tell us to do action and go and do something. So he can be a very good politician if we were maybe in the United States. You sit and just listen to policies.
He's a Barack Obama to some extent.
Exactly.
He's a Barack Obama. And Simba Arati is a perfect Trump.
I hope that means well for them.
We need to talk about two things before we go to across the African continent, because I see also our time is sort of running out. The bipartisan talks today continued, and also the expulsion of 5 rebel MPs and a senator
and MCS.
Let's start there.
I don't know how I will take it. But a party has to take action on people that they feel
have gone rogue.
But our constitution is not clear on what really happens next. You know, it does not say that they are going to lose their seats. You know, we were in the last regime, and we saw people who were evicted from their parties, and they hang on until the next election. So we really need to understand what now. Are they going to sit at the same positions in government where they were sitting, or are they going to change to support? We need to understand what it means. On the context of removing them, I don't know, because the principals have met the president.
Yeah.
They've gone and had discussions with them, but these other ones are being told that it's not right to do that. Perhaps they are looking at a situation where we are saying, you are not my level. This is at a higher level, so that you can discuss with the president and everything. At the same time, I would like a democracy where people are free to do whatever they want to do and to make decisions the way they want to make decisions. But I also am cognizant of the fact that party rules also have to be appreciated. We want to move to a democracy where parties have their own philosophies, and if you follow a philosophy, and that is where we need to go as a country. You know, we need to go away from parties that are just based on individuals and go to ideologies. I believe the economy should be run like this, and I believe this party believes the economy should be run like this. Then you come and debate. So
Debatable.
They agree to disagree.
They agree to disagree. I don't know why you are failing to stay put in a place that I can come and counter you properly. But
I was looking at you. I denied you that.
But it's absolutely right. But I would give an example. When you look at the United States, and there is a gentleman who was arguing that the United States itself isn't a democracy to some extent, because you only have two political parties. So if you only have two political parties, as well as you have only one political party, because either of the two, either way, is going to win, and they are going to go back to the policies that they had 5 years before the other political party came into play.
That's right.
But when you look at how a member of or a senator or a governor who belong to the Democratic Party, and they would want to change their allegiance, they come out publicly and say, I no longer subscribe to the views of the Democratic Party. I shift my allegiance to the Republican Party. They will resign and they will go into the other political party, and they will continue doing what they have to do. And when Kenya gets to that point, then I will believe that now we are practicing a democracy, and we're practicing democracy. But also I would like to take you back to what I said about Kisii and what Raila Odinga was saying, that you do not have to dangle sort of development money in front of people for them to be in your flank. Let everybody do what they are able to do and fund them properly, so that they can continue and deliver on the mandate of what they promised their people, and hope and expect that because as government we were able to do what is right, then come the next election, we are able to sway the interest of the people of that particular constituency. Because it wouldn't have hurt if, let's use Felix Odor Jalango, if it comes to the tail end of his tenure as member of parliament for Langata, and say, people of Langata, I have been able to deliver because the government has been able to do this and this and this, and because of that alone, I subscribe to what the president is doing. Now I shift allegiance from ODM to the Kenya Kwanza affiliation, or to UDA. I think that would be a more of an honorable thing to do. If you do not say that you do not, I will use an analogy of a marriage. You will not say that I am in love with you and I want to be with you, but then there is somebody else who is wooing you outside our door. It does not really make sense. So I believe the only honorable thing to do is you relinquish your position in this particular political party and say, okay, whatever might happen, and this is where they are not being sincere, and they are also putting their constituencies also in jeopardy, and they are not directly coming out and say, this, we are not subscribing to ODM right now, we are subscribing to this, and this is what we're going to take forward. And I think it also does not, because I've seen they've decided to go to court, then why go to court and you're fighting for a front line that you're not really interested in, and you are not subscribing to their policies and all of that. Though I totally agree that we should allow people to change their mind, but you can change your mind as you are out of the house.
Party discipline.
Party discipline, basically. Party discipline, basically. On the bipartisan talks.
Well, nothing. I think I'm not getting what I'm supposed to get out of these bipartisan talks, because we're not getting these frequent kind
Updates.
of updates of what's going on.
Yeah.
We really need to understand because we failed to go to work because of this thing. Yeah, you took us through a lot just to get there.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing? That is my question to these people who are discussing behind closed doors. But what we are getting is what these people are insinuating outside here.
Yeah.
That we don't need this to be part of the discussion, don't need the other. So I really have a problem with this kind of bipartisan talk that is not involving other people or the Kenyans in these kind of discussions.
I think it is a story in the Standard this morning. They were saying that the committee is accepting memoranda from all different walks of the country, and everybody is allowed to sort of go and submit their memoranda, and they do not really want to make this a political moment rather than a constitutional sort of a collective moment. But when you read in between the lines, and I think this is why the deputy president here is a little bit jittery. When he was in Kericho, the words that he said, and I sort of was reading between the lines. And this I am paraphrasing. He was saying that tunataka tupatie huyu mzee magari, tumpatie security, tumpatie nyumba, akitaka pikipiki moja mzungushe town, tumpatie nyumba kama anataka. I think there is already what is stipulated of what the opposition is to get from all of this.
Yes. But
this is sort of a long road that they are taking people through until they come out and say, this is what we have agreed on. But also in that realization and in that revelation by the deputy president, also he sees a problem within that. Yeah. So
yes.
It is a 50-50 sort of situation.
It is, and you know, the truthful man is
that is classical. The truthful man
is very good and at giving us hints of what's going on. I think he needs a kudos for that. It's sad. It's sad if those are the kinds of talks they're having behind closed doors. We think that they are talking about the cost of living, about how they're going to comprise the IEBC, and things like those that put us against each other every 5 years.
Yeah.
So we understand that the former Prime Minister has statures in this country. He will have all those regardless of what you're going to talk about.
Absolutely.
You know, even right now he has a chase, police chase. So we don't really need that kind of talk. Maybe if someone is listening to us, change that kind of narrative. We need national things to be discussed. We need the mwananchi to be put at the center of these discussions, and we need to see what you're doing. Actually, we need to see.
It's only your money that is really important in this conversation, and in terms of money, I mean taxes. Going to the motherland, across the motherland, quickly, before we. I think today we had a lot to talk about.
We did.
Elevating this conversation, could we start it off with the G20 summit? Yeah.
Africa Union was
made a permanent member in the G20 summit. And people are now saying it's G75 or something, G74 now, because African Union is part of it. But also the EU is part of the G20. But what I'm reading into this is that all of them had agreed that Africa Union should be part of the G20. But we have to commend India for pushing this discussion to where it is right now. India has been a very good friend for Africa. During the apartheid regime, it supported Africa and all. But also Africa has been I think it's the other way around, because when you look at most of the people who are running big business in Africa, they are Indians. When you look at the billionaire Dewiji in Tanzania, he hails from India. When you look at the billionaire Sudhir Ruparelia in Uganda, he hails from India.
We have the Patels and the Shahs.
The Patels and the Shahs. When you look at the Gupta brothers in South Africa, they hail from India. So definitely.
So it was a consensus, and I agree. We have a very good, a mutual kind of beneficial relationship with India, and you cannot have a discussion and exclude 1.4 billion people.
Absolutely.
In that discussion, it doesn't really make sense. What are you going to discuss about? What principles or policies are you going to come with that will exclude 1.4 billion and a very youthful population? It is not like the EU. The EU has very fine this democracy.
Purporting to be democratic.
So how are we going to have consensus on the things that we're going to discuss in the G20? That is a matter now that we need to really ponder upon. But upon the submission of the African Union to be a member, I think it has not yet been admitted. Shaky.
I think, and even as I celebrate Africa being admitted to the G20, because it has been a long time coming, but I think we are going to witness the scramble and partition for Africa all over again. And I think I can read malice, and I hope time will exonerate me, but I can read malice. You know, you cannot divide something that is not on the plate. If a chicken is not on the plate, you cannot dissect it the way you want it. They are happening. Dangle a carrot in front of this one, dangle a carrot in front of this one, dangle a carrot in front of the other one, and they never agree. You come and pass within the middle, and you still do the thing that you initially wanted to do. We're going to be talking about. And if many African leaders are able to read from that script and get to understand that African Union is just a representative of the different 54 states on the African continent, I think that would be a great direction to move into.
And also, I read into these on looking at the West and the East. I think with Africa is influenced by the West. You know, even the Chinese president, Xi was not present. The Russian, of course, for obvious reasons, Russian president could not be there. But a lot of influence in the G20 comes from the West. And they saw what happened in the BRICS summit, and it's to the G20, and now maybe they have power and influence over these countries. And you saw even the BRICS, they admitted quite a few of African countries.
Ethiopia being one of them.
So it is the partition that you're saying. I think that's where we're heading.
And then it's really interesting. How then do you play this politics? You have the G20, you have BRICS. Then there is another one which only has
G7.
G7. Then exactly what exactly? Why are these so
we have
many
Commonwealth.
Gs? Why are so many these Gs? Can't we have some X's as well? It is quite interesting.
G7 failed because they failed to really come up with policies that can influence the world, yet you're only 7 countries, and new economies were emerging. You know, when you come to the G20 is now the thing, but even the G20 right now is not even as powerful because now we have BRICS coming up, and we have the East pulling on its side, the West pulling on its side. It's really a confusing matter, but at the end of the day, it's if African Union is going to be at the helm of or part of the G20, we need to understand how Kenya will benefit from this, you know. That is the aspect that we really need to understand, because you're not going there as Kenya, we're going there as African Union. And African Union has been part of it, by the way. It has been always been invited, but now it's been admitted as a permanent member. So we need to see the difference coming out.
But I also think there is, I think it's either the prince or the king of Dubai, and he was saying that in his lifetime, he will have to see to it that Dubai becomes stronger than Europe. And with a man with such wealth and with such resources, if he says something, then you must take his threats, not even threats, to the war of words and war of water between Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt. And we're talking about the Renaissance dam that Ethiopia built. And I think it is yesterday or on Saturday, they announced that now they have been able to fill the dam to its maximum, using waters from the Blue Nile.
It's, you know, when back in 1924, there was a treaty signed when the British was colonizing Egypt and all these countries. There was a treaty signed that Egypt would own the River Nile, a higher percentage than Sudan, a slightly lower percentage, to its origins. And that its origins also come to Kenya, to Uganda, Rwanda. So we have a situation where Egypt, you know, Egypt's lifeline depends on the Nile. Even if you see the development of the country, it's just based on the line.
Along the Nile,
So the line is the lifeline of Egypt. When you want to create or to build this dam, it means you're going to deny them.
Disrupt.
And these, if the water levels go down, then Egypt is going to suffer.
Yeah.
So it is a very confusing situation right now, because I believe Ethiopia is ready up and dams.
Yeah.
It has its defense near the dam in case of anything.
Yeah.
And Egypt is threatening also that it can invade anytime if measures are taken to maybe disrupt the flow of Nile.
Yeah.
So it is a developing story that we are going to see from this week towards the conclusion. Yeah. But it's quite interesting to see if Egypt is going really to claim the Nile even beyond its borders. That is the question that we need to.
Absolutely, and it is a very tight conundrum there, and I think it is documents from WikiLeaks. I think it is in back in 2014, where some detail or information leaked from one of the American giant security firms that say that Egypt and Sudan were sort of collaborating to build up an airstrip to make them ready to attack Ethiopia at any given point, and then. As we're talking about this, I think it is very timely that we just spoke about the African Union. This is where you want to see the African Union come in. Is on the Nile. But then how do they take the fight beyond their borders? Yeah, that is quite something.
And by the way, Ethiopia was not party to the treaty.
Yeah.
Uganda was, Rwanda, maybe Kenya, but Ethiopia was not party to the treaty that was signed in 1924. They're saying we don't know this treaty.
I think there needs to be a renegotiation. And I think even as Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia would be fighting, then what would be Uganda? Because I believe there is also a better part of the Nile in Uganda. Then what would Uganda be saying in this entire conversation? There's
a river in West Africa.
Yeah.
Called River Senegal, I believe. It cuts through four countries.
Yeah.
And they have solved this issue very well, very easy, just by having an association or a corporation that have all these representatives from all these four countries. And they decide this is what we're going to do with this river at this point, So it is very easy for Egypt and Ethiopia to just lower their egos, try to understand what is at stake, because it is within Ethiopia's right to build a dam for its people, and also it is within Egypt's right to claim that if you do this, you're going to make our people suffer. So they can have an association or a corporation, form a corporation, then talk of how you're going to have these things negotiated. And I saw this as a solution. I think it is the filling of the dam. I don't know if it is fully filled.
Yeah, it has been fully filled.
Yeah. Because if it is fully filled, then there'll be no problem, because the water will flow. But if it is not yet fully filled, it is the timeline that was in question. How long is it going to take to fill, so that you don't deny us a lot of water? You can just take some few water and take a longer period so that you can fill the dam and our people will be sustainable, But if you are going to close the entire dam, the entire river, just for your benefit, is going to bring a lot of problems.
It will not have made sense. As we're winding up, we would like to stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters from Morocco who were hit with a high magnitude earthquake that they have ever seen in more than 60 years.
6.8. 6.8 magnitude is a very, very strong earthquake, and I've seen the photos, the images, the videos there. It is devastating. I saw a woman who had lost 10 people from her family.
Absolutely.
So it is really saddening, and prayers and wishes, well wishes are from us to Morocco upon this tragedy, and we know that this is an act of God. He couldn't have done anything to prevent it. So
and we hope that the geopoliticians are not going to bring in their gimmicks to sort of hinder the supply of aid there. And Morocco, being the country it is, its king announced 3 days of mourning, but also it is said that Morocco has not clearly come out to say that now we need aid to sort of help us go back to normalcy. But either way, we put you in the hands of the Lord, or we could say the hands of Allah, to bless and stand with all of you out there in Morocco and Marrakesh, to be specific. Your closing remark?
I think I will close with a remark of democracy. I believe democracy is for all of us, as all of us are contributors to this great country.
Yeah.
We need all to feel part of the government, and the presidency and the opposition need to work together for the benefit of the Mwananchi.
Yeah.
So all kind of discussions should be tailor-made to fit the development of the Mwananchi.
Yeah. I do not have anything to add or subtract, but rather to say thank you very much for the time that you have given us this beautiful Monday morning. Let us, Monday evening, it's no morning. It might be morning in other parts of the world, but this Monday evening, let's see you next week on Monday. I'll be coming back with Bonnie here to dissect what is happening politically, but that's not all we had for you here on Our Concepts. On Wednesday, we're going to be coming with Dreams in Motion, and Friday, we're going to be coming with Boundless. Thank you for the continued support. Good evening.
Hakuna kiongozi ambaye hana gome yake ya kisiasa, na gome ya kisiasa ya rais wetu ni hapa Mlima Kenya na bonde la Ufa.
Lakini wakileta nyokonyoko, simuko tayari.
Kwa mkutano nikiondoka, nikapata mtu anaitwa Moses Kuria amenipigia simu. Nikipigia yeye ananiambia Vice Chair,